Welcome to a galaxy where dreams awaken and the Force flows like a lullaby. I'm Jacob. I'm the Jedi Temple Librarian. Tonight we have 10 Star Wars What-Ifs to play LEGO Star Wars 2. Under twin moons and starlit skies, ancient secrets unfold in quiet speak. These are 10 Star Wars What-Ifs to fall asleep to, or get deep into the books with, mysterious, magical, and relaxing. We ask, what is your favorite LEGO Star Wars level? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for watching from whatever system you're watching from. Let the stars guide your journey, and may your dreams and the Force be with you. What if Han Solo was killed by Greedo in Mos Eisley? The Mos Eisley Cantina was a den of shadows and secrets, its air thick with the scent of spilled ale and the hum of 100 conversations. Luke Skywalker, wide-eyed and nervous, followed Obi-Wan Kenobi through the crowd, clutching the droid's fate in his hands. They needed a pilot, and the old Jedi's gaze had settled on a cocky Corellian lounging in a booth, Han Solo. Han's smirk was legendary, his confidence unshakable. Fastest ship in the galaxy, he boasted, feet up on the table, blaster at his side. Chewbacca rumbled in agreement. The deal was struck. Passage to Alderaan, no questions asked. But as Luke and Obi-Wan left to sell the speeder, a shadow fell across Han's table. Greedo, the Rodian bounty hunter, slid into the seat, blaster drawn. Going somewhere, Solo? Greedo hissed, his basic thick with menace. Han's hand drifted toward his blaster, but Greedo was faster this time. The Rodian's finger tightened on the trigger, and a bolt of red energy lanced across the table. Han's eyes widened in shock as the shot struck him square in the chest. He slumped forward, the smirk wiped from his face forever. The cantina fell silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in chaos. Greedo grabbed Han's blaster and credits, slipping out the back before the bartender could call the authorities. Chewbacca howled in anguish, cradling his fallen friend. The legend of Han Solo ended not in a blaze of glory, but in a dingy booth on Tatooine. Obi-Wan and Luke returned to find Chewbacca alone, his fur matted with grief. The old Jedi's face tightened with sorrow, but there was no time to mourn. The Empire was closing in, and the droid's secret was too important to lose. Chewbacca, his loyalty unbroken, agreed to help them find another pilot. But Mos Eisley was a dangerous place, and word of Han's death spread quickly. Jabba the Hutt, furious at losing his best smuggler, put a price on Greedo's head. The underworld erupted in violence, bounty hunters turning on each other in the streets. The Millennium Falcon, now without a captain, was impounded by Imperial officers searching for the droids. Luke and Obi-Wan were forced to flee on a battered YT-1300 freighter, piloted by a nervous Rodian named Dax, whose skills were a pale shadow of Han's. Their escape from Tatooine was harrowing. Dax's piloting was clumsy, and the freighter's shields barely held against the TIE fighters that screamed after them. Obi-Wan's calm guidance and Chewbacca's strength kept the ship together, but the journey to Alderaan was fraught with peril. Luke, shaken by Han's death, clung to his lightsaber, the weight of destiny pressing down on him. When they arrived in the Alderaan system, they found only debris, the planet destroyed, the Death Star lurking in the darkness. Dax panicked, nearly flying them into a tractor beam. Obi-Wan's quick thinking saved them, but the freighter was pulled aboard the battle station. The rescue of Princess Leia was a desperate, improvised affair. Without Han's bravado and cunning, the group stumbled through the corridors, relying on Chewbacca's strength and Obi-Wan's wisdom. Leia, fierce and resourceful, took command. She led them through the garbage chute, her blaster never wavering. Dax was killed by stormtroopers, his sacrifice buying the others time to escape. Obi-Wan faced Vader alone, his duel a dance of light and shadow. Luke watched in horror as his mentor fell, the old Jedi's body vanishing into the Force. The escape from the Death Star was a miracle. Chewbacca piloted the freighter, his roars of determination echoing through the cockpit. Leia plotted the course to Yavin 4, her mind already racing with plans for the rebellion. Luke, haunted by loss, vowed to honor Obi-Wan's sacrifice. The Battle of Yavin was a desperate gamble. Without Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon was absent from the fight. The rebellion's pilots were brave, but the Death Star's defenses were overwhelming. Luke flew his X-Wing with raw talent and the Force as his guide, But when Vader closed in for the kill, there was no Falcon to save him. R2-D2 was damaged and Biggs was shot down. Just as Vader's sights locked onto Luke's fighter, a blast from a Y-wing forced the Sith Lord to break off, but the shot missed. The Death Star's super laser charged and the station fired, obliterating Yavin 4 and the heart of the rebellion. Leia, Chewbacca, and a handful of survivors fled into the Outer Rim, hunted by the Empire. The rebellion was shattered, its leaders scattered. Luke, wounded and alone, was rescued by a smuggler named Sana Staros, who had heard tales of Han Solo and sought to honor his memory. Together they formed a ragtag resistance, striking at the Empire from the shadows. Jabba the Hutt, enraged by the chaos on Tatooine, declared war on the Empire's agents in the Outer Rim. The underworld became a battleground, with bounty hunters and Imperial enforcers clashing in the streets. Greedo's victory was short-lived. He was hunted down by Boba Fett, who claimed the bounty and Han's blaster as trophies. Leia, hardened by loss, became a legend among the survivors. She led daring raids on Imperial convoys, her leadership unchallenged. Chewbacca, mourning Han, became her protector and confidant. Luke, guided by visions of Obi-Wan, sought out Yoda on Dagobah, desperate to complete his training. The galaxy changed in subtle ways. Without Han's charm and luck, the rebellion's victories were fewer, its losses greater. The Millennium Falcon, rusting in an Imperial impound lot, became a symbol of what might have been. The Empire tightened its grip, but the spirit of resistance endured. On Dagobah, Luke's training was grueling. Yoda sensed the darkness growing in the galaxy, the balance tipping toward despair. Much loss there has been, the old master intoned, but hope there is still. Luke's connection to the Force deepened, his resolve hardening with each lesson. Leia's resistance grew bolder. She recruited smugglers, pirates, and former Imperials, forging alliances in the shadows. Chewbacca became a legend in his own right, his bowcaster feared across the galaxy. Together they struck at Imperial supply lines, sabotaged Star Destroyers, and inspired a new generation of rebels. The Empire, sensing the threat, dispatched Vader to hunt them down. The Dark Lord's pursuit was relentless, his presence a shadow over every mission. Leia and Chewbacca narrowly escaped capture on Corellia, their ship crippled by TIE fighters. Luke, sensing their danger through the Force, abandoned his training to save them. Their reunion was bittersweet. Luke, changed by his time with Yoda, was more Jedi than farm boy. Leia, scarred by war, was a leader forged in fire. Chewbacca, ever loyal, welcomed Luke with a roar. Together they planned a final assault on the Empire's new superweapon, the Death Star II. The battle was chaos. Without Han's daring, the plan relied on stealth and cunning. Leia led a commando team to disable the shield generator, while Luke confronted Vader and the Emperor. The duel was fierce, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. In the end, it was Leia's leadership and Luke's compassion that turned the tide. Vader, moved by the sight of his children fighting together, turned on the Emperor, sacrificing himself to save them. The Death Star was destroyed, but at great cost. The rebellion's victory was bittersweet, its heroes forever changed by loss. Han Solo's death in Mos Eisley echoed through the galaxy, a reminder that even legends can fall. But the spirit of rebellion endured, carried forward by those who refused to give up hope. Han really got clapped by Greedo, and the whole galaxy went, "Wait, that's illegal." Chewie out here solo, Leia running ops, Luke just speedrunning trauma. Jabba, refund my bounty, bro. What if Leia was captured instead of Luke on Cloud City? The Millennium Falcon soared through the clouds of Bespin, its battered hull gleaming in the orange twilight. Han Solo gripped the controls, sweat beading on his brow as he guided the ship toward Cloud City. Beside him, Leia Organa watched the horizon, her mind racing with worry for their friends and the rebellion. Chewbacca and C-3PO worked frantically in the back, trying to keep the ship together after their harrowing escape from the Empire. They landed in the city's docking bay, greeted by Lando Calrissian's smooth smile and empty promises. The group was led through gleaming corridors, unaware of the trap that awaited them. Darth Vader's shadow loomed over Cloud City, his presence a chill in the air. The betrayal came swiftly. Stormtroopers surrounded them, blasters raised. Han was frozen in carbonite, his anguished face etched in Leia's memory. Chewbacca roared in fury, but was restrained. Lando, guilt-ridden, tried to make amends, but the damage was done. In the original timeline, Luke Skywalker arrived, drawn by visions of his friends in pain. But in this reality, it was Leia who was captured, her defiance unbroken, even as Vader loomed over her. "You'll get nothing from me," she spat, her eyes blazing with determination. Vader regarded her with cold curiosity. "You are strong, Princess, stronger than you know." Leia was taken to a holding cell, her mind racing with escape plans. She reached out through the Force, a power she barely understood, sensing Luke's approach. But this time it was Han and Chewbacca who led the rescue. Lando, desperate to redeem himself, guided them through the city's labyrinthine passages. Luke, meanwhile, was delayed by Imperial patrols. He arrived on Cloud City to find chaos. Alarms blaring, stormtroopers scrambling, and Han leading a daring assault on the detention level. The reunion was fierce and frantic. Han blasted open Leia's cell, and she threw her arms around him, relief and gratitude mingling with the adrenaline of battle. But Vader was waiting. He confronted the group in the carbon-freezing chamber, his lightsaber igniting with a hiss. Han and Chewbacca fought valiantly, but were no match for the Sith Lord. Leia, her latent Force abilities awakening under stress, grabbed a blaster and fired at Vader, her shots deflected effortlessly. Luke arrived just in time, his own saber clashing with Vader's in a storm of sparks. The duel was brutal, the stakes higher than ever. Leia, sensing the connection between Luke and Vader, reached out through the Force, her presence a beacon of hope. Vader, sensing her potential, tried to turn her. "You have power, Princess. Join me, and together we can end this war." Leia's answer was a blaster bolt. Aimed at the control panel, the chamber filled with steam, alarms blaring. The group escaped in the confusion, racing to the Millennium Falcon. Lando piloted the ship, weaving through TIE fighters as Leia manned the guns, her aim deadly. The escape was costly, Chewbacca was wounded, and Lando's ship was damaged. But they made it to hyperspace, the stars stretching into lines as they fled Bespin. In the aftermath, Leia struggled with the revelation of her power. Luke, sensing her turmoil, offered guidance. "The Force is strong in my family," he said quietly. "You have that power too." Leia's training began in secret, guided by Luke and the teachings of Obi-Wan's journals. She learned to control her abilities, to sense danger, to move objects with her mind. Her leadership in the rebellion grew even stronger, her presence inspiring hope in the darkest times. Han, haunted by his time in carbonite, became fiercely protective of Leia. Their bond deepened, forged in the fires of adversity. Chewbacca, ever loyal, stood by their side, his strength and courage undiminished. The rebellion, emboldened by Leia's example, launched a daring assault on the second Death Star. Leia led the ground team on Endor, her Force abilities giving her an edge in battle. She sensed the presence of the Emperor, his darkness a shadow over the forest moon. Luke confronted Vader and the Emperor in the throne room, but this time, Leia was not far behind. She fought her way through Imperial guards, her lightsaber, crafted from parts scavenged on Hoth, blazing with blue light. The final confrontation was a family affair. The Emperor, sensing Leia's power, tried to corrupt her. "You are strong, young Skywalker, stronger than your brother. Join me, and together we will rule the galaxy." Leia stood firm, her resolve unbroken. "I will never join you," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. Vader, torn between his children and his master, hesitated. Leia reached out to him, her mind touching his through the Force. "There is good in you, Father. I can feel it." The Emperor, enraged, unleashed a torrent of lightning. Leia and Luke stood together, their sabers crossed, deflecting the energy. Vader, moved by their courage, turned on the Emperor, hurling him into the reactor shaft. The Death Star was destroyed, the Empire defeated. Leia, now a Jedi Knight, led the galaxy into a new era of peace. Her leadership, wisdom, and strength became legend, her name spoken with reverence across the stars. Han, by her side, found a new purpose as a diplomat and father. Luke, proud of his sister, continued to train a new generation of Jedi. Chewbacca returned to Kashyyyk, his deeds celebrated by his people. The galaxy was forever changed by the day Leia was captured on Cloud City. Her courage and power inspired millions, her legacy enduring long after the last star faded from the sky. Leia really said, "Not today, Vader," and turned Cloud City into her own escape room. Han out here simping, Luke just vibing, Chewie tanking shots. Emperor, who let her cook? What if the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive never failed? The icy winds of Hoth howled outside Echo Base as the Millennium Falcon powered up, its engines rumbling with anticipation. Han Solo, hands steady on the controls, glanced at Leia, her face illuminated by the glow of the cockpit. Chewbacca roared from the co-pilot's seat, and C-3PO fussed nervously behind them. The Empire was closing in, AT-ATs stomping across the tundra, and time was running out. "Punch it, Chewie," Han barked, his trademark grin flashing. The Falcon lifted off, dodging blaster fire and weaving through the chaos of the evacuation. TIE fighters screamed after them, but Han's piloting was flawless. As they cleared the atmosphere, Han reached for the hyperdrive lever, his heart pounding. In the original timeline, the hyperdrive sputtered and failed, sending the Falcon on a desperate flight through asteroid fields and into the arms of betrayal. But in this reality, the hyperdrive purred to life, the stars stretching into lines as the ship leapt into hyperspace. Relief washed over the crew. They had escaped Hoth, the Empire, and disaster. Leia slumped in her seat, exhaustion etched on her face. "We made it," she whispered, disbelief mingling with hope. Han shot her a cocky smile. "Told you the Falcon would come through." Their destination was the rendezvous point with the rebel fleet, hidden in the far reaches of the Outer Rim. The journey was smooth, the Falcon systems humming in perfect harmony. C-3PO, for once, had no complaints. Chewbacca relaxed, his growls soft and content. When they arrived, the fleet was waiting. Mon Calamari cruisers, X-wings and transports clustered in the void. The Falcon docked, and Han was greeted as a hero. Leia was swept into strategy meetings, her leadership more vital than ever. Han, restless as always, found himself drawn into the rebellion's cause, his smuggler's instincts now a weapon against the Empire. Meanwhile, Darth Vader stood on the bridge of the Executor, frustration simmering beneath his mask. The Falcon had vanished from his sensors, the trail gone cold. He dispatched probe droids across the galaxy, but the rebellion's secrecy held. The Emperor's displeasure was palpable, his voice a whisper of menace in Vader's mind. Luke Skywalker, recovering from his ordeal in the Wampa's lair, and the revelation of his destiny, trained with the fleet's Jedi holocrons, guided by the wisdom of Obi-Wan's spirit. Without the trauma of Han's capture and Leia's peril, Luke's path was steadier, his focus sharper. He sensed the darkness growing, but also the hope that flickered among the stars. The rebellion, emboldened by their escape from Hoth, launched a series of daring raids on Imperial supply lines. Han led a squadron of modified freighters, his tactics unpredictable and devastating. Leia coordinated intelligence operations, her network of spies outmaneuvering Imperial agents at every turn. Chewbacca became a legend among the fleet, his strength and loyalty inspiring awe. The Empire, stung by defeat, tightened its grip on the galaxy. Vader's search for Skywalker intensified, his obsession growing. He interrogated prisoners, scoured star systems, and unleashed bounty hunters in a desperate bid to find the Falcon and its crew. Boba Fett, IG-88, and Bossk prowled the shadows. But the rebellion's security was unbreakable. On the forest moon of Endor, the Emperor began construction of a new Death Star, its super laser a symbol of Imperial might. The rebellion learned of the project through Mon Mothma's spies, and plans for a final assault took shape. Han, Leia, and Chewbacca volunteered for the strike team, their bond unbroken by betrayal or loss. The mission to Endor was perilous. The team landed in the dense forests, evading patrols and forging an alliance with the native Ewoks. Han's charm and Leia's diplomacy won the trust of the furry warriors, who pledged their aid in the coming battle. The shield generator was heavily guarded, but Han's cunning and Chewbacca's strength turned the tide. Meanwhile, Luke, sensing the Emperor's presence, confronted Vader on the Death Star. Their duel was fierce, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. The Emperor, confident in his victory, taunted Luke, urging him to embrace the dark side. But Luke, grounded by the love and loyalty of his friends, resisted the temptation. Han and Leia succeeded in destroying the shield generator. the explosion lighting up the night sky. The rebel fleet, led by Admiral Akbar, launched their assault on the Death Star. Lando Calrissian, piloting the Millennium Falcon, led the attack run, his hands steady on the controls. The battle raged above Endor, starfighters weaving through the chaos. The Falcon, its hyperdrive flawless, darted through the superstructure, Lando's laughter echoing in the cockpit. Wedge Antilles flew at his side, their torpedoes finding their mark. The Death Star erupted in a fireball, the Emperor's reign ending in a blaze of light. On the surface, Han and Leia embraced, their victory hard won. Chewbacca roared in triumph, lifting Ewoks into the air. The rebellion celebrated, their sacrifices honored, their hope restored. Luke, standing over the fallen Vader, wept for the father he had saved. Anakin Skywalker's redemption was complete, his spirit joining Obi-Wan and Yoda in the Force. The galaxy was free, the shadow of the Empire lifted. In the years that followed, Han and Leia built a life together, their love unshaken by tragedy. Chewbacca returned to Kashyyyk, his deeds celebrated by his people. Luke rebuilt the Jedi Order, his students guided by the lessons of hope and friendship. The Millennium Falcon, its hyperdrive a symbol of resilience, became a legend in its own right. Stories of its daring escapes and heroic deeds spread across the stars, inspiring generations to come. The galaxy, forever changed by the choices of a few, entered a new era of peace and possibility. The Force, balanced at last, whispered of adventures yet to come.
The Death Star's explosion painted the sky, and the Falcon zipped out like it was late for brunch. Han's hyperdrive finally working, that's character development. Vader somewhere like, bro, I can't catch a break. Ewoks already planning the after party, Chewie's the DJ, and Lando's got the best dance moves in the galaxy. Luke's just happy nobody's in Carbonite. Empire, we got outplayed by a Wookiee and a working engine. Rebellion, that's what we call plot armor, baby.
What if Obi-Wan killed Vader on the Death Star? The Death Star's corridors echoed with the rhythmic stomp of stormtrooper boots and the distant hum of machinery. Obi-Wan Kenobi moved with purpose, his brown cloak blending into the shadows as he navigated the labyrinthine passages. He could feel the presence of his old apprentice. No, not Anakin, not anymore. Darth Vader. The name was a wound, a scar that never truly healed. But Obi-Wan's mission was clear: disable the tractor beam, ensure the safety of Luke, Leia, Han, and the droids, and, if fate allowed, confront the darkness that had once been his friend. He reached the tractor beam controls, his hands steady as he deactivated the system. The Force whispered warnings, but he pressed on, knowing time was short. As he turned to leave, the familiar mechanical breathing filled the air. Vader stepped from the shadows, his black armor gleaming, red blade ignited. "I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan," Vader intoned, his voice a cold echo of the man he once was. Obi-Wan drew his lightsaber, the blue blade humming to life. "You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." But in this reality, Obi-Wan's resolve was different. He saw the pain in Vader's movements, the conflict behind the mask. He remembered the boy on Tatooine, the friend on Mustafar, the promise he made to Padme. Yet he also saw the destruction Vader had wrought, the slaughter of the Jedi, the suffering of the galaxy. Their blades clashed, blue and red illuminating the corridor. The duel was fierce, a dance of memory and regret. Obi-Wan fought not just for survival, but for the future. He pressed the attack, his movements precise and relentless. Vader, powerful but overconfident, underestimated the old Jedi's determination. As the duel reached its climax, Obi-Wan saw an opening. With a swift, decisive strike, he disarmed Vader, sending the red blade skittering across the floor. Vader fell to his knees, mechanical breathing ragged. "Anakin," Obi-Wan whispered, lowering his blade, "it doesn't have to end like this." But Vader, pride wounded and rage boiling, lunged. Obi-Wan, heart heavy, made his choice. With a single, sorrowful motion, he ended Vader's life. The Sith Lord collapsed, the mask hissing as the last breath escaped. Obi-Wan stood over the fallen form, grief and relief mingling in his chest. He deactivated his saber and slipped away, the stormtroopers too slow to react. He reunited with Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca in the hangar, his presence a beacon of hope. They escaped the Death Star, the Millennium Falcon darting into hyperspace. The loss of Vader sent shockwaves through the Empire. The Emperor, sensing the death of his apprentice, unleashed his fury on the galaxy. He accelerated his plans, tightening his grip and seeking a new enforcer. Luke, unaware of his true parentage, mourned the loss of the mysterious figure who had haunted his dreams. Obi-Wan, burdened by his actions, became a mentor in earnest, guiding Luke in the ways of the Force. He revealed the truth of Anakin Skywalker, the fall to darkness, and the hope that still remained. The rebellion, emboldened by the death of Vader, launched a series of daring strikes. Imperial morale faltered, and whispers of the Sith Lord's demise spread like wildfire. The Emperor, desperate to maintain control, turned to his secret apprentice, Mara Jade, a shadowy figure trained in the dark arts. On Hoth, the rebellion prepared for the Empire's retaliation. Obi-Wan trained Luke, pushing him harder, knowing the Emperor would come for them. Leia, her leadership unchallenged, coordinated defenses and inspired the troops. Han, ever the rogue, ran supply missions and scouted Imperial movements. The Empire struck with overwhelming force, but the rebellion held. Obi-Wan and Luke fought side by side, their bond deepening with each battle. Luke's power grew, tempered by Obi-Wan's wisdom and compassion. The Emperor, enraged by repeated failures, confronted the rebellion personally. He unleashed Mara Jade, her skills deadly and her loyalty absolute. Luke faced her in battle, their lightsabers clashing in the snow. Obi-Wan, sensing the darkness within Mara, reached out through the Force, offering redemption. Mara hesitated, torn between duty and conscience. The Emperor, sensing her doubt, struck her down, his lightning crackling through the air. Luke, fueled by grief and anger, confronted the Emperor. Obi-Wan intervened, his presence calming Luke's rage. Together they faced the Emperor, their combined strength overwhelming his power. The dark side faltered, and the Emperor fell, his reign ending in a storm of light and energy. The galaxy breathed a sigh of relief. The rebellion triumphed, the Empire crumbled, and a new era began. Obi-Wan, his mission complete, faded into the Force, his spirit at peace. Luke, now a Jedi Knight, rebuilt the Order, guided by the lessons of the past. Leia led the New Republic, her wisdom and courage shaping a brighter future. Han, ever the scoundrel, found purpose in peace, his love for Leia unshakable. Chewbacca returned to Kashyyyk, his legend secure. The death of Vader on the Death Star changed everything. The shadow of the Sith lifted, the light of hope shining brighter than ever. The Force, balanced at last, whispered of new adventures and the promise of redemption. The galaxy, forever marked by the choices of a few, entered an age of peace and possibility. The stories of Obi-Wan, Luke, Leia, and Han became legend, inspiring generations to come. And in the quiet moments between stars, the Force sang of hope, forgiveness, and the power of choice. The Death Star's alarms faded into memory, replaced by the laughter of children, the songs of freedom, and the gentle hum of a galaxy reborn. What if Lando never betrayed Han and Leia? Cloud City shimmered in the Bespin twilight, its towers aglow with the promise of sanctuary. The Millennium Falcon, battered but unbowed, touched down on a landing platform, its crew weary from the relentless pursuit of the Empire. Han Solo stepped out first, blaster at his hip, eyes scanning for trouble. Leia followed, regal even in exhaustion, her gaze wary. Chewbacca lumbered behind, and C-3PO trailed, muttering about the odds. Lando Calrissian greeted them with open arms and a dazzling smile. "Han, you old pirate, welcome to Cloud City." The embrace was genuine, the laughter real. Lando led them through the city's gleaming corridors, regaling them with tales of prosperity and peace. Leia remained cautious, sensing undercurrents of tension, but Han trusted his old friend. In the original timeline, Lando's betrayal set a trap for the group, leading to Han's capture and the shattering of their unity. But in this reality, Lando's loyalty held firm. When Imperial officers arrived demanding cooperation, Lando refused. "This is my city," he declared, voice steely. "You have no authority here." Vader, his patience thin, ordered a full assault. Stormtroopers flooded the corridors, blasters blazing. Lando, Han, and Chewbacca fought side by side, their bond forged in the crucible of battle. Leia, blaster in hand, led civilians to safety, her leadership inspiring hope. The battle for Cloud City raged through the night. Lando's security forces, outnumbered but determined, held the line. Han's piloting skills turned the Falcon into a weapon, strafing Imperial positions and providing cover for the defenders. Chewbacca's roar echoed through the halls, a rallying cry for freedom. Vader, frustrated by resistance, confronted Lando in the city's central chamber. Their duel was fierce, Lando's blaster against Vader's saber. Han and Leia arrived in time to tip the balance, their combined firepower forcing Vader to retreat. The Empire, unprepared for such defiance, withdrew, leaving Cloud City battered but unbroken. The victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. News of Lando's stand spread quickly, inspiring other worlds to resist Imperial rule. The rebellion gained new allies, their ranks swelling with those who yearned for freedom. Lando became a symbol of hope, his name whispered in cantinas and council chambers alike. Han, grateful for Lando's loyalty, offered him a place in the rebellion. Lando accepted, his charm and cunning invaluable to the cause. Leia, impressed by his courage, welcomed him as an equal. Chewbacca, ever the judge of character, offered a rare nod of approval. The group returned to the rebel fleet, their spirits high. Luke, recovering from his ordeal on Dagobah, sensed the shift in the Force. The darkness that had threatened to consume them was held at bay, replaced by a flicker of hope. The rebellion, emboldened by Cloud City's example, launched a series of daring strikes. Lando led covert operations, his knowledge of Imperial protocols turning the tide in countless battles. Han and Leia, their bond deepened by adversity, became the heart of the movement. Chewbacca's legend grew, his bravery inspiring songs and stories across the stars. Vader, his plans thwarted, turned his wrath inward. The Emperor, displeased, demanded results. The hunt for Skywalker intensified, but the rebellion's unity made them elusive. Luke, guided by Obi-Wan's spirit, trained harder, his resolve unshakable. The final confrontation came at Endor. Lando, now a general, led the assault on the Death Star's shield generator. Han and Leia fought by his side, their trust in each other absolute. The Ewoks, inspired by tales of Cloud City's defiance, joined the fight with renewed vigor. In orbit, the rebel fleet engaged the Imperial Armada. Lando, piloting the Millennium Falcon, led the attack run, his hands steady on the controls. Han's modifications to the ship paid off, the Falcon weaving through the superstructure with ease. On the Death Star, Luke faced Vader and the Emperor. The battle was fierce, the outcome uncertain, but the unity of the rebellion, forged in the fires of Cloud City, gave Luke the strength to resist the dark side. Vader, moved by his son's compassion, turned on the Emperor, ending the Sith's reign. The Death Star exploded in a blaze of light, the Empire's grip shattered. The galaxy erupted in celebration, the songs of freedom echoing from Coruscant to the Outer Rim. Lando, Han, Leia, and Chewbacca stood together on Endor, their victory hard won. The bonds of friendship and loyalty, tested and proven, became the foundation of a new era. The rebellion became the new republic, its leaders guided by the lessons of the past. Lando's decision to stand with his friends changed the course of history. The galaxy, once shrouded in darkness, basked in the light of hope. The stories of Cloud City's defiance became legend, inspiring generations to come. And in the quiet moments between battles, Han and Lando shared a drink. Their laughter a reminder that even in the darkest times, loyalty and friendship could change the fate of the stars. What if Chewbacca was frozen in carbonite instead of Han? The carbon freezing chamber on Cloud City was a cathedral of steam and shadows, its orange glow casting long, ominous silhouettes. Han Solo stood at the edge of the platform, arms restrained, Leia's desperate gaze locked on his. Vader's presence was suffocating, his mechanical breathing a constant reminder of the stakes. Boba Fett waited, silent and watchful, his blaster never wavering. But in this reality, as the Ugnaughts prepared the chamber, a sudden scuffle broke out. Chewbacca, enraged by Han's impending fate, broke free of his captors, tossing stormtroopers aside with raw Wookiee strength. The chaos drew Vader's attention. "Enough!" he thundered, gesturing with a gloved hand. The Force slammed Chewbacca to his knees. If the Wookiee wishes to take his friend's place, so be it. Han struggled against his bonds. No, Chewie, don't. But Chewbacca, eyes blazing with loyalty, let out a mournful roar. He was forced onto the platform, his massive frame barely fitting within the chamber's confines. Leia screamed, reaching for him, but stormtroopers held her back. The machinery whirred to life, and the chamber filled with blinding steam. When it cleared, Chewbacca stood frozen in carbonite, his face contorted in a silent howl. Han was dragged away, numb with shock. Leia wept, her grief raw and unfiltered. Lando, guilt gnawing at him, promised to help. "We'll get him back," he vowed, his voice trembling. The news of Chewbacca's capture spread quickly. Boba Fett, denied his prize, was furious but accepted Vader's new deal. Deliver the Wookiee to Jabba the Hutt, and the bounty would be paid. Fett departed with his cargo, the carbonite slab secured in his ship's hold. The escape from Cloud City was frantic. Han, Leia, and Lando fought their way through stormtroopers, the loss of Chewbacca a constant ache. C-3PO, pieced together by Lando's technicians, offered what comfort he could. "I'm sure Master Chewbacca will be all right," he said, though his voice quavered. Aboard the Millennium Falcon, the mood was somber. Han piloted the ship with mechanical precision, his usual bravado gone. Leia sat beside him, her hand in his, both drawing strength from each other. Lando plotted a course for Tatooine, determined to rescue their friend. Meanwhile, on Dagobah, Luke Skywalker sensed a disturbance in the Force. His training with Yoda was interrupted by visions of Chewbacca, frozen and alone. "I have to help them," Luke insisted. Yoda's ears drooped. "Difficult this path, but your friends, in need they are." Luke departed for Tatooine, his resolve hardened by loss. The group reunited on the desert world, their plan simple but dangerous: infiltrate Jabba's palace, free Chewbacca, and escape before the Hutt's forces could react. Jabba, delighted by his new trophy, displayed the carbonite slab in his throne room. The sight of Chewbacca, forever roaring, became a symbol of the Hutt's power. Han, disguised as a bounty hunter, negotiated for Leia's entry as a servant. Lando, already embedded among Jabba's guards, coordinated from within. The rescue unfolded with desperate precision. Leia, disguised as Boushh, bargained for Chewbacca's release, her voice distorted by the helmet. Jabba, amused, agreed, only to spring his own trap, capturing Leia and Han in the process. Luke arrived, his presence a beacon of hope. He confronted Jabba, demanding the release of his friends. The Hutt laughed, sentencing them all to the Sarlacc. But Luke, ever resourceful, turned the tables. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned his lightsaber, and chaos erupted. The battle on the skiff was fierce. Han, still shaken by Chewbacca's sacrifice, fought with renewed fury. Leia strangled Jabba with the very chain that bound her. Lando, nearly swallowed by the Sarlacc, was saved by Han's quick reflexes. As the dust settled, they freed Chewbacca from the carbonite. The Wookiee staggered. Disoriented but alive, Han embraced him, tears streaming down his face. "Don't ever do that again, you big furball." Chewbacca's roar of relief echoed across the dunes, a sound of triumph and reunion. The group returned to the rebel fleet, their bond stronger than ever. Chewbacca's ordeal became legend, his bravery inspiring songs and stories. Han, forever changed by his friend's sacrifice, became more committed to the rebellion. Leia, her love for both men deepened, led with renewed purpose. Luke, now a Jedi Knight, faced Vader and the Emperor on the Death Star. The memory of Chewbacca's sacrifice gave him strength, his resolve unbreakable. The final battle was fierce, but the unity of the group turned the tide. The Empire fell, the galaxy freed from tyranny. Chewbacca, celebrated as a hero, returned to Kashyyyk Sheik, his deeds honored by his people. Han and Leia built a life together, their love forged in adversity. Luke rebuilt the Jedi Order, his students guided by the lessons of loyalty and sacrifice. The story of the Wookiee in carbonite became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, friendship and courage could change the fate of the stars. The galaxy, forever marked by Chewbacca's bravery, entered a new era of peace and possibility. What if the Emperor personally led the assault on Hoth? The icy plains of Hoth stretched endlessly beneath a sky choked with snow and smoke. Rebel sentries scanned the horizon, their nerves frayed by the constant threat of discovery. In the command center of Echo Base, Leia Organa coordinated the evacuation, her voice calm but urgent. Han Solo and Chewbacca worked feverishly on the Millennium Falcon, cursing the cold and the ship's stubborn wiring. Luke Skywalker, fresh from his encounter with the Wampa, prepared his snowspeeder for battle. But in this reality, the Empire's assault was different. The Emperor himself, cloaked in darkness, arrived aboard his personal Star Destroyer, the Eclipse. His presence sent ripples of fear through the Imperial ranks. Darth Vader, relegated to a secondary command, bristled at the slight but obeyed. The Emperor's plan was simple: crush the rebellion in a single decisive blow and capture the young Skywalker himself. The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace, eclipsing the pale sun. AT-ATs thundered across the tundra, their cannons blazing. TIE fighters screamed overhead, strafing the trenches. The Emperor watched from the bridge, his yellow eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Let them feel the full power of the dark side," he hissed, his voice echoing through the comms. On the ground, the rebels fought valiantly. Luke led Rogue Squadron in daring attacks, weaving between the legs of the walkers, targeting their vulnerable joints. Han and Leia coordinated the evacuation, their teamwork seamless. Chewbacca's roars spurred the ground crews to greater speed. But the Emperor's influence was everywhere. Stormtroopers moved with unnatural precision, their aim unerring. Officers who faltered felt a cold grip on their throats, the Emperor's displeasure manifesting in deadly ways. Vader, forced to follow orders, led the main assault, his lightsaber carving a path through the defenders. As the shield generator fell, the Emperor ordered a ground landing. He strode into the ruins of Echo Base, flanked by the crimson-robed Royal Guard. The temperature seemed to drop further, the very air thick with dread. Leia, refusing to abandon her post, confronted him in the command center. "You'll never break us," she declared, blaster raised. The Emperor smiled, a thin, cruel line. "Your defiance is admirable, Princess." But futile. He unleashed a torrent of Force lightning, shattering consoles and sending soldiers flying. Leia was thrown back, her blaster skittering across the floor. Han rushed to her side, firing at the Emperor, but the bolts dissipated harmlessly against a shimmering shield. Luke, sensing the darkness, raced through the corridors. He found the Emperor standing over Leia, Vader at his side. "Leave them alone," Luke shouted, igniting his lightsaber. The Emperor turned, his gaze appraising. "So, young Skywalker, you have come to me." The duel was brutal. Luke fought with desperation, his skills raw but fueled by righteous anger. Vader intervened, his own blade clashing with Luke's. The Emperor watched, delighting in the conflict, feeding on the fear and pain. Leia, regaining her senses, crawled to a console and triggered the base's self-destruct sequence. "We're not giving you anything," she spat. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You would destroy yourselves rather than serve me? So be it." He signaled for a retreat, but not before unleashing another wave of lightning. Han and Leia escaped with the last transport, Chewbacca piloting the Falcon through a gauntlet of TIE fighters. Luke, battered and barely conscious, was dragged aboard by R2-D2 and C-3PO. The base exploded in a pillar of fire, denying the Emperor his prize. Enraged, he ordered the fleet to pursue the survivors. The chase through the asteroid field was relentless, the Emperor's wrath palpable. The rebellion, scattered and wounded, regrouped on the edge of the galaxy. Leia assumed command, her resolve hardened by the encounter. Han, shaken but unbroken, pledged his loyalty to the cause. Luke, haunted by the Emperor's power, sought guidance from Obi-Wan's spirit. The Emperor, denied his victory, turned his attention to a new plan. He dispatched Inquisitors to hunt the Jedi, their methods ruthless. Vader, his pride wounded, plotted in secret, seeking a way to undermine his master. The final confrontation came at Endor. The Emperor, unwilling to trust others, led the defense of the Death Star personally. His presence on the station galvanized the Imperial forces, their discipline unbreakable. The battle was fierce, the outcome uncertain. Luke, Leia, and Han infiltrated the station, their bond unbreakable. The Emperor confronted them in the throne room, his power overwhelming. But the unity of the trio, their love and loyalty, proved stronger than the dark side. Vader, witnessing the Emperor's cruelty, turned on his master. The duel was cataclysmic, the throne room consumed by lightning and fire. In the end, the Emperor fell, his reign ending in a storm of energy. The galaxy, freed from tyranny, celebrated the heroes of Hoth. The story of the Emperor's arrogance and the rebellion's defiance became legend, a testament to the power of hope in the face of darkness. What if R2-D2 was destroyed before delivering the Death Star plans? The twin suns of Tatooine blazed overhead as R2-D2 and C-3PO trudged across the endless dunes, the stolen Death Star plans hidden deep within R2's memory banks. In the original timeline, the little astromech's determination and luck saw him through sand, Jawas, and stormtroopers, ultimately delivering the plans to Obi-Wan Kenobi and setting the rebellion's hope in motion. But in this reality, fate intervened. As the Jawa's sandcrawler rumbled across the desert, a squad of Imperial stormtroopers, led by a ruthless sergeant, intercepted the lumbering vehicle. The troopers, acting on a tip from a local informant, opened fire without warning. Blaster bolts tore through the sandcrawler's hull, igniting fuel cells and sending the entire vehicle up in a fiery explosion. Inside, R2-D2's sensors registered a final surge of heat and static before his systems went dark forever. C-3PO, thrown clear by the blast, staggered to his feet, his golden plating scorched and dented. He called for R2, but there was no answer. Only the distant roar of the fire and the triumphant shouts of the stormtroopers as they sifted through the wreckage. The Death Star plans, so close to salvation, were lost in the flames. The news reached Darth Vader aboard the Devastator within hours. The Sith Lord stood over the remains of the sandcrawler, his black cloak billowing in the desert wind. He crushed a piece of R2's dome beneath his boot, satisfaction radiating from every movement. The plans are destroyed, the sergeant reported. There were no survivors. Vader's response was cold and final. Then the rebellion is finished. On Alderaan, Princess Leia waited anxiously for word from Tatooine. When the message came, no contact, no droids, no hope, her heart sank. Bail Organa, her adoptive father, tried to reassure her, but the truth was clear. The Empire's weapon would soon be unleashed, and the rebellion had no way to stop it. Obi-Wan Kenobi, sensing a disturbance in the Force, ventured into Mos Eisley in search of the droids. He found only wreckage and rumors of Imperial patrols. Luke Skywalker, still a farm boy, never met the old Jedi. The call to adventure never came. The lightsaber remained hidden, the legacy of the Jedi fading into myth. The Death Star, unchallenged, completed its journey to Alderaan. Grand Moff Tarkin, eager to demonstrate the station's power, ordered the destruction of the planet. Leia, forced to watch from her cell, screamed as her home was obliterated. The rebellion, scattered and leaderless, reeled from the loss. On Yavin 4, the rebel base was discovered by Imperial spies. Without the Death Star plans, the defenders had no hope of finding a weakness. The station emerged from hyperspace, its superlaser primed. The rebel fleet scrambled to evacuate, but the Death Star's firepower was overwhelming. The base was destroyed, the survivors fleeing into the outer rim. Han Solo, never drawn into the conflict by a desperate old man and a pair of droids, continued his life as a smuggler. Chewbacca remained at his side, their adventures taking them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Lando Calrissian, hearing rumors of the Empire's new weapon, fortified Cloud City, hoping to weather the coming storm. Leia, broken but unbowed, escaped Imperial custody with the help of a small band of loyalists. She became a symbol of resistance, her broadcasts inspiring pockets of rebellion across the galaxy. But without the plans, every assault on the Death Star ended in disaster. The Empire's grip tightened, worlds falling one by one. Obi-Wan, haunted by failure, retreated deeper into exile. He watched the rise of the Empire from afar, his hope dwindling with each passing year. Luke, never awakened to his destiny, grew old on Tatooine, his dreams of adventure fading into the desert wind. The Death Star became the ultimate symbol of Imperial power. Its shadow loomed over every world, its superlaser a constant threat. The rebellion, fragmented and desperate, resorted to guerrilla tactics, their victories few and far between. But hope, though battered, was not extinguished. On the industrial world of Corellia, a young slicer named Jin Urso intercepted a fragment of an old transmission, a whisper of a weakness in the Death Star's design. She gathered a team of outcasts and rogues, determined to finish what others had started. Their mission was perilous, the odds impossible, but Jin's courage and determination sparked a new fire in the galaxy. The rebellion, inspired by her example, rallied for one final assault. The battle was fierce, the cost immense, but the Death Star was finally destroyed, not by a farm boy from Tatooine, but by a new generation of heroes. The galaxy, forever changed by the loss of a single droid, entered a new era. The legend of R2-D2 became a tale of sacrifice and hope, a reminder that even the smallest among us can shape the fate of the stars. And in the quiet corners of the galaxy, the memory of a brave little astromech lived on, inspiring those who dared to dream of freedom. What if Boba Fett joined the rebellion? The slave I drifted in the shadow of a derelict star destroyer, its hull scarred from years of dangerous work. Boba Fett sat in the cockpit, helmet resting on his knee, eyes fixed on the hollow transmission, flickering before him. Jabba the Hutt's offer was generous, but the Empire's credits were tainted, and Vader's threats had grown tiresome. Fett, a hunter by trade, had always played both sides. But the galaxy was changing, and so was he. A coded message arrived, routed through a dozen shadow ports. The sender, Leia Organa. The offer, amnesty, credits, and a chance to strike back at the Empire. Fett's reputation was legendary, but even legends could grow weary of being used. He considered the proposal, weighing risk against reward, and made his choice. On the outskirts of Sullust, Fett met with Leia and Han Solo in a dimly lit cantina. Han's hand hovered near his blaster, but Leia's gaze was steady. "We need someone who knows the Empire's secrets," she said. "Someone who can get us close to Vader." Fett's voice was low and even. "I want Jabba off my back, and I want the Empire to pay for what they did to my father." Leia nodded. "Help us, and you'll have both." Fett's first mission for the rebellion was a test of loyalty. He infiltrated an Imperial garrison on Corellia, using his armor and reputation to bluff his way past security. Inside, he planted charges, sabotaged communications, and extracted a high-value prisoner, a former Imperial engineer with knowledge of the Death Star's weaknesses. Han, skeptical but impressed, began to trust the bounty hunter. Chewbacca, ever cautious, kept a close eye on Fett, but grudging respect grew between the two warriors. Leia, recognizing Fett's value, brought him into the inner circle, his insights shaping the rebellion's strategy. The Empire, blindsided by Fett's betrayal, placed a massive bounty on his head. Bounty hunters from across the galaxy came for him, Bosk, Dengar, IG-88, but none could match Fett's cunning. He led them on wild chases, turning the hunters into the hunted and feeding information back to the rebellion. As the Battle of Endor approached, Fett's role became crucial. He provided the codes needed to bypass the Imperial blockade, allowing the rebel fleet to reach the forest moon undetected. On the ground, he led a strike team against the shield generator, his blaster and jetpack sowing chaos among the stormtroopers. During the assault, Fett faced off against an old rival, an Imperial Inquisitor sent by the Emperor to eliminate the traitor. Their duel was fierce, blasters and sabers clashing in the undergrowth. Fett, wounded but unyielding, emerged victorious, his armor scorched, but his resolve unbroken. In orbit, the rebel fleet engaged the Imperial Armada. Lando piloted the Millennium Falcon, weaving through the Death Star's superstructure. Fett, commandeering a stolen TIE interceptor, provided cover, his sharpshooting skills turning the tide. Inside the Death Star, Luke confronted Vader and the Emperor. The battle raged, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Fett, monitoring the comms, heard the call for help. He blasted his way into the station, fighting through waves of stormtroopers to reach the throne room. He arrived as the Emperor unleashed his fury on Luke. Without hesitation, Fett fired a concussion grenade, disrupting the Emperor's concentration. Vader, seizing the moment, turned on his master, hurling the Emperor into the reactor shaft. The Death Star began to collapse. Fett helped Luke carry the dying Vader to a shuttle, their escape a race against time. They cleared the station just as it exploded, the shockwave lighting up the stars. The rebellion celebrated its victory, but Fett remained on the fringes. He collected his amnesty, his credits, and a promise from Leia. Jabba's influence would be broken. True to her word, the rebellion launched a campaign against the Hutt cartels, freeing slaves and dismantling criminal empires. Fett, his reputation transformed, became a legend among the freedom fighters. He trained rebel commandos, led covert missions, and hunted down the remnants of the Empire. Han, once a rival, became a friend. Chewbacca, ever loyal, stood by his side in battle. The galaxy, forever changed by Fett's choice, entered a new era. The story of the bounty hunter who became a hero spread from Coruscant to the Outer Rim, inspiring those who believed that even the darkest past could be redeemed. And in the quiet moments between missions, Fett looked to the stars, his father's voice echoing in his memory. He was no longer just a hunter. He was a symbol of hope, a reminder that anyone, given the chance, could choose a different path. What if the Death Star's superlaser malfunctioned at Yavin? The Death Star loomed over the jungle moon of Yavin 4, its superlaser array glowing with deadly promise. In the Rebel Command Center, tension was a living thing. Mon Mothma's voice was steady as she relayed the latest telemetry, but her eyes betrayed the fear she felt for every pilot in the sky. Luke Skywalker, Red 5, sat in his X-Wing, the Force whispering to him through the static of battle. Han Solo and Chewbacca, having returned at the last moment, prepared the Millennium Falcon for a desperate run. In the original timeline, the Death Star's countdown ticked toward destruction, and only Luke's perfect shot, guided by the Force and Han's timely intervention, saved the rebellion. But in this reality, as Grand Moff Tarkin stood smugly on the command deck, the superlaser's power grid flickered. A warning klaxon blared. "Sir, we have a malfunction in the primary firing array," a technician shouted, panic in his voice. Tarkin's confidence faltered. "What do you mean, malfunction?" "The focusing crystal is misaligned. We can't fire the superlaser. It'll take at least 30 minutes to recalibrate." Tarkin's jaw clenched. "Then fix it, now." The delay rippled through the battle. The Death Star, unable to destroy Yavin 4, became a sitting target. Rebel pilots, emboldened by the reprieve, pressed their attack. Wedge Antilles and Biggs Darklighter flew cover for Luke, their X-Wings weaving through the trench, dodging turbo laser fire and TIE fighters. Vader, sensing the shift in momentum, took to his TIE Advanced, determined to crush the rebels himself. He picked off Y-Wings and X-Wings with ruthless efficiency. But the rebels' morale soared. Han and Chewbacca, seeing the opportunity, dove into the fray, blasting ties off Luke's tail. In the command center, Leia gripped the edge of the console, hope flickering in her heart. "We have a chance," she whispered. The Death Star's engineers worked frantically, sweat pouring down their faces as they realigned the focusing crystal. Tarkin barked orders, his composure slipping. "Prepare to fire as soon as the system is online." In the trench, Luke felt the Force guiding his hands. Vader closed in, his targeting computer locking on to the young pilot, but Han's blaster fire forced Vader to break off, his TIE spiraling out of control. Luke reached the exhaust port, the Force flowing through him. He fired. The proton torpedoes streaked down the shaft, detonating deep within the station's core. The Death Star shuddered, explosions rippling through its superstructure. Tarkin's eyes widened in horror as fire consumed the command deck. The station erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, debris scattering across the void. The rebel pilots cheered, their voices crackling over the comms. On Yavin 4, the command center erupted in celebration. Leia embraced Mon Mothma, tears streaming down her face. The malfunction had bought the rebellion precious time, turning certain defeat into miraculous victory. The story spread quickly. How the Empire's ultimate weapon had failed, how the courage of a few had changed the fate of the galaxy. In the aftermath, the Empire reeled. The loss of the Death Star was a blow from which it would never fully recover. Tarkin's arrogance became a cautionary tale, his name synonymous with hubris. The Emperor, enraged, unleashed a wave of purges, seeking to root out traitors and saboteurs. The rebellion, emboldened by their triumph, grew in strength. New worlds joined their cause, inspired by the victory at Yavin. Han and Chewbacca became heroes. Their debts forgiven, Luke, hailed as the savior of the rebellion, began his training as a Jedi under Leia's watchful eye. Vader, his failure haunting him, became obsessed with finding the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. He scoured the galaxy, interrogating prisoners and hunting for clues. The cat-and-mouse game between Vader and Luke became legend, their destinies intertwined. The malfunction of the super laser became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the mightiest weapons could fail, that courage and luck could change the course of history. The rebellion's anthem echoed across the stars, a song of freedom and defiance. And in the quiet moments after the battle, as the survivors mourned their fallen and planned for the future, the galaxy dared to dream of a day when the shadow of the Empire would be lifted forever. The Force, mysterious and eternal, watched over them all, its will unfolding in ways no one could predict. Yo, if you made it this far, you're a real one. Seriously, shout out to the notification gang and everyone who's been rocking with me. If you enjoyed these wild Star Wars what-if stories, smash that like button, drop a comment with your craziest Star Wars theory, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 1 million, so turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. I got more bangers coming, so stay tuned, stay positive, and as always, it's been your boy. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, may the Force be with you, and don't let the dark side catch you slipping. Deuces.